We're going to continue to use the file that we were using for the last tutorial. My file uses a hand. Your rotoscope that you did, it might be something else. That's fine. And we're going to look at masks today. So we're going to apply the mask in one particular way to the hand. You might need to come up with a creative way to apply the mask to whatever you used. So first I want to show you how I sort of got this marble effect that's going on. I wasn't a huge fan of exactly how the carpet was looking, so I wanted to try and manipulate it a little bit more. It almost looks like paint sort of mixed together in some ways now, but I added it to the carpet texture itself. So if I come down here to carpet texture and double click, this is what I have ended up with. And remember, so this is what it looked like. I added something called a turbulent displace, and you can see how it affects it. If I take the amount up and down, and also the size. So let's see what that would look like. Different effect. I like it a bit smaller. And I had tried out other things, like I had tried to blur it a little bit, that didn't work. So this button right here turns it on and off. I didn't really like how that looked. I'd prefer to have a bit more clear, so I'm just going to delete the blur. Alright, so we want to do some pre-composing again. Right now we have our alpha matte and our texture, and then our hand alpha matte and our texture. So I want to pre-compose the shadow and the texture together. Call it shadow. And I want to pre-compose the hand and the texture together. So now when I turn them off, they all disappear. This will make it easier with our next step of applying the masks and working properly with the masks. The goal for what I want to do is make it look like the hand is opening and it reveals something that's inside of the hand. Like it has a object inside of the hand, and then that object is going to float away. And then the hand's going to close again, and it will loop like that. So let's just take, for example, maybe a circle. I can add a new shape layer if I don't have any layer selected, and I come up to here to the shape. If I double click, that's just going to add whatever shape is there. If I go into the shape layer, into the contents, into ellipse path, I'm going to change the scale and adjust the curvature of the circle here. So instead of 1920 by 1080, we just want 1080 by 1080. I'll relock it. I'm going to take this down to a much smaller size. So I'll rename that by I click on the layer, hit return or enter, and then I can rename. I want to take this down, and I want to put it between the fingers and the palm. So how could we do that? Well, let's try putting it between shadow and hand. But that's not going to work, because really all our shadow layer did was create those lines. What we need to do is we need to sandwich it between the fingers and the palm. So we're going to go to hand. I'm going to do Command D. That will duplicate it. And I'm going to grab hand and take it above shadow. Actually, I'm just taking it above the ball, and I still want to be able to see my shadow. And I'll tell you why. We are going to add a mask, and we're going to have the mask go exactly along where our shadow layer is, and so the shadow layer will be a guide. We add a mask by right-clicking on our layer, mask, new mask. Now if I hit M on this layer, I can see I've added a mask. If I zoom out, this is my mask. Alright, before we move on, I want to change the colors of my layers just to get a better distinction of what each layer is. So I'm going to have my base hand layer. I'm going to change that to yellow. I'll keep my ball blue. And let's make the mask layer, let's make it green. And the shadow will make purple. Purple. So if I turn this off, remember, ball is beneath. That's where we're going to see the ball. Starting right around here, we'll see the ball. I want to actually cut this because whenever I'm here, I don't need to. We don't want to see the ball. So I'm going to take the ball layer all the way in until the hand is covering it. We can say maybe right there. Let's just take it as close to here as we need. We can do the same thing with this hand layer. We don't use the hand layer until starting right here. Alright, so I'll take my mask and I'm going to hit G. That allows me to add a point to the mask. If I hold and click, I can draw out the Bezier handles and I can move the mask. I'm going to make a point right around each of the spots where the fingertips overlap. And kind of curve as well. So that's pretty good. If I open up hand, open up the mask, and hit mask path, turn on the stopwatch, that's going to set my first keyframe. And now once I move it to the next frame, I will come back in here and I'll select my points. And as I select my points, a new keyframe is added. So if I go in between, we're starting to animate that mask path. Move to my next keyframe. If I hit H, I can grab the hand tool, I can move around. and then I'll go back to V to do my selection tool again. Something that's a little bit funny about the mask. So let's change the color to another color that I can see better. It's kind of hard to see the yellow along right here. So let's change it to red. That's a lot easier to see. Now, sometimes it's hard to figure out how exactly to grab these vector points. Right now, they are squares, like empty squares, and it's very easy to grab them. So I'll move this up here. Just get these points out of the way. I don't really need them anymore. Actually, yeah, basically all the points can move now. I don't have any fingers covering up the mask anymore. Or I don't have any fingers that covering up the ball anymore, so I don't really need to mask anything out anymore. So it was honestly just those two frames. But a point about how to move these. So when they are empty squares, real easy to grab. But if we have mask path selected, for some reason, then all the squares fill in whole, and if we try and grab and we try and move, the whole thing moves. And that's fine now, so because, like I said, we aren't trying to cover up the ball anymore, so this is fine. But in order to select that empty square, or in order for the empty square to show up, you can just hit masks, and then it just gives you the points, which is fine, or mask feather, and it will show you the empty squares. If you select mask path, then it's going to be all solid squares. All right, let's start to animate my my ball, the placeholder of what I'm going to put another object there. So let's hit position. We can hit P on ball, and it will open up position. I want to add a keyframe because I know I want it to move whenever the hand opens up. I want it to rise up out of the hand. So I want it to start moving, I guess right here, and finish right at the end. I'll have it go all the way off screen. But we've got some issues. What's happening? Okay, well, we need to move that mask again. It's getting lost behind there. So we could do a couple of things. The easiest thing actually would be just to cut this, because we don't need the mask after it gets past these points, because we don't have anything that's covering up our circle anymore. So I can just drag this right here. I can also do, I believe, Option Alt right bracket, and that brings it to wherever your playhead is. So now that works. That's great. Another option would have been to just like take the mask and totally drag it over there. Either one works. But we've got the issue that the shadows are over top of our circle, and we want the circle to be over top of the shadows. We could approach this a couple ways too. We could make a mask. My mask is going to start right here. New mask. I'm gonna just start to draw a mask, and I'm gonna delete my purple one, and then if I do subtract, it will subtract it instead. Let's make sure that we turn on the keyframes for this. So hit mask path. And before that point, we want it to be totally off the screen, because you'll see it'll mess things up as we move through. You can see it's cutting right there. It's cutting when we get back earlier. So I want to take this mask right before, and I want to move it far away. I'll just put it over here. Right. And it looks like we have one more spot right here. Let's just keep that nice and clean, kind of focused in on our ball. And then starting here, we can do the same thing again. We can just move them up. Nope, we still need it. Right there. And now at this point, we can just move the mask far over here.